Hello, everybody. I'm here, Dave from Battle Cantina and Battle Sabers UK, and I'm here with Nick Smith from Battle Blades, West Sussex, and also Midnight Sabers. Um,
Hello, Dave.
Hello, Nick. It's glad to have you on board, buddy.
Good to be here, my friend.
Good, good. Just a little heads up. We're gonna chat. Although Nick's from Battle Blades, West Sussex, good friends of ours over there. We're not gonna chat too much about Battle Blades today. We're gonna focus on the Midnight Sabers portion of Nick's personification. We're just gonna chat, get the insights of a Sabersmith into the show, and see where we go from there. Yeah, good job.
Great stuff. Great stuff.
So basically, I'm going to start off today, Nick, by just tell us a bit about Midnight Sabers. Where'd that come from? What happened? Where did we get into Sabers?
It's a combination of a few things in my life that seem to merge. I've got a history. Most of my career was spent as a theatre lighting technician. I've worked in the West End, at the London Palladium, the Royal Opera House, Glyndebourne Opera House, Theatre Royal Brighton, many houses. And so my understanding of electrical theory, although I came mainly from a design background, was there. You know, understanding how electrical circuit works. And around May last year, I was looking to re-engage with sword fighting. I had a history with some fencing I'd done for a few years. I was looking to get back into maybe some saber work, and I came across the Silver Sabers website, which immediately lightsabers and swordplay. I mean, I was sold. Bang, there, hands down. I got in touch with Fast. He put me in touch with John because John was taking care of the Sussex area.
Mm-hmm.
And I started training at one of their sites in Brighton, which is the youth centre, horrible place. And although that's gone now, as the lessons progressed, I learned about the sabers they were using. They were very old Generation 1 Pilgrim hilts from JQ Sabers.
All right.
Which were basic but functional, but the ones that they had were quite battered. And I mentioned to John that it'd be interesting to maybe try and fix a few of the ones that he said he had broken. At the time, I'd been gifted this hilt by my brother.
Oh wow!
Which is a Saber Forge ASP, which is assorted saber parts. I think is
Okay.
what it's short for, and it's a modular system. So he'd gifted me that. It'd been on the shelf for about a year. I thought, I can use that. So I took it along, and I was using it in class. And I'd knocked out one of the LEDs. So I thought, well, it can't be that hard to fix. I took it apart, resoldered the joints, put some nice heat shrink on them to keep them safe. I mentioned to John that I'd done that, and he said, I'll give you a few of our 40 Sabers. We'll see if you can have a go with those. So I got given, in procession of the weeks, more and more sabers to fix and adjust and retap grub screws and change the color of and redo the recharge port. And after a while I found that this was flowing quite nicely. And at the same time, as well as getting more involved with Silver Sabers and becoming quite a regular at classes, and meeting the other guys and seeing their sabers and seeing how they were built and where they were from, at the same time, I was then getting more into the custom saber community on Facebook predominantly. There's a wealth of sites. The UK Lightsaber group, there's a Graflex enthusiast group, there's a Universal Lightsaber community. The majority of them are stateside, but there's a huge amount of crossover. And there I learnt about the different soundboards. One of the first soundboard projects I did was actually making a Saber Forge hilt up for Craig. Because I bought this really nice. It looked like a Dark Side Obi-Wan. I think it was called the Acolyte or something. And Craig really liked it. Asked if I could install it for him. I said, "Well, I've got some blade builders blades. The plastic throw-out sabers. I think I might have one down here. So this is a Yoda one.
All right.
It's like a Hasbro toy. You flick the blade out, and it's got a very basic kind of sound card in it.
Yeah.
And I looked online and found that there were very handy, well edited guides for how to take the parts out of that and put it into a custom hilt.
Oh, really?
So, using some
so that's just a toy. Is that what you were just holding up? Is literally a
That is literally a toy you can get from Toys R Us,
okay,
or Smith's Toy Store. It's a Hasbro plastic. plastic
I thought
hilt.
that was just I thought it was a bit more substantial, but no, it's just a
No,
toy.
this is a stamped
Okay.
plastic toy that you could get in any toy shop.
All right.
It comes with a very basic sound card inside. But yeah, if you take that sound card out, you have to do some resoldering on it to change it from a small 5mm LED and put in a converter so it can ramp up the power and
Right.
feed a high power LED. Upgrade the speaker, obviously, and that worked quite well. It's a bit fussy, and it was a bit of a what's called a cram foo build, where you literally just cram everything, wires all twisted up, bits of foam, and you pack it all in, hope nothing breaks, and then switch it on.
Yeah.
But it worked.
Yeah.
And then from that, I then started learning about the other soundboards that were available. And I was looking at things like the Nano Biscotti version 4, which is the current kind of entry level. And then moving up to things like the Verso board, which is fairly new from Chaos Sabers, which has smooth swing. And then moving up to the Rolls-Royce sound cards, which are things like the CFX, which stands for Crystal Focus 10 from Plector Labs.
Right.
And the very top, the gold standard, is the Profi board, released by a guy called Frederick Hubenet, who followed a few years before me in, again, finding that as an electronic engineer, he was incredibly frustrated with the hardware that was available in the toys, and thought he could actually do better. So he started producing boards initially called the Teensy Saber board, or the Teensy board, which then eventually grew into the Profi, the 1.5 before, and now we're currently at 2.2.
Oh, wow.
With upgraded software all along the way. The good thing about the Profi board is it's open source, so you get a lot of people writing code and presenting it to the community to take and use and adapt as they will. Whereas the CFX and the Nano Biscotti are by a company called Plector Labs, and they're closed source. You can moderate and change the configuration of set values, but you can't make it an all singing, all dancing. It's not as flexible as the Profi board. And so, yeah, I've been playing with those. There is another company called Nigon Electric Creations, which is NEC, and they do things like the Spark boards, the Spark color boards.
Yeah.
They don't seem to have the following of the Plector Labs, I must admit, in what I've found.
So where does
I do have a couple here. I've yet to play with them.
Where does because a lot of our sabers, the sabers that we started off with in the club, and we still use them to this day, they have obsidian boards in them because they're ultra sabers.
Yeah.
Where does obsidian rank in that
Obsidian
hierarchy you've just outlined for us?
Yeah. I mean, there seems to be it does raise. I've seen it mentioned in chat in several groups, and the Obsidians, they're very good. They do what they're meant to do. Ultra Sabers would rate them as one of the world-class boards. There are many in the community who would maybe offer a different opinion.
Right.
They're probably not going to be up there with the CFX and Profi, but I imagine that they give you what you need. You know, you have a good turn on, a good flash on clash, a good hum. Effects wise, I don't know how far they go. I imagine it's probably a sealed arena of effects.
Right.
Things like the Profi allow you to have a blunt end on effect where your saber seems like it's cutting through a wall, a bit like Qui-Gon with the security door. They've got drag effects on the tips. You can have a changing flash on or lock up effect. So if you lock sabers, you get a bright area on the blade. With the Profi, you can change the position of that by angling the blade up and down. The light up area moves.
You mean to tell me what you're saying is that you can have a lit up position on your blade where it's making contact with another blade?
Absolutely.
That's dynamic.
Oh yeah. I'm going to show you
it. You're kidding me. I don't believe. I'm calling your BS on that one. I never seen nothing like that. I know I'm not the most experienced man in the world, but I think I would have seen something like that before. I tell you.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to show me that one later.
I'm going to show you that
That's
one. I'm going to
impressive.
show you that.
Well, we don't got that with Obsidian. I promise you that one. We have the.
Yeah, no, I can imagine the Obsidian. Would be very similar to the mid-range boards. It probably does exactly what you need it to do. It is good for enthusiasts. It gives you that Star Wars vibe.
It's what I call when I think about like sound cards and flash on clash and things like that. Those are what I call the kids appeal. And
Yeah,
and when I say the kids appeal, I don't mean it disrespectfully, because that kids appeal applies to adults just the same, in my
yeah,
opinion. You know, ooh, it's the same. It's the same reaction I get when I walk into a room full of Legos. You know,
yeah, yeah,
so and so it's definitely kids appeal. But for a sport, I don't really do flash on
yeah.
clash. It's just more stuff to go wrong,
There's
in
a
my
real
opinion.
divide
But
between stunt sabers and, what, for want of a better term, what's called shelf queens.
yeah.
There's a grey area between where, obviously, for battle sabers for yourselves as well, we're using stunt sabers. They light up, no sound,
Mm-hmm.
in-hill LED, hollow tube. You can bash these around till kingdom comes. It's
Yep.
absolutely brilliant for combat. Um, but if you're a Star Wars aficionado, a bit of a Star Wars fan, you want to go for the whole effect.
Yeah.
So you want it to be more like a lightsaber.